Yogurt. Yummy, simple, and very, very simple to make on board. Hi, I'm Nika Waters, and welcome to the Boat Galley Podcast. Yes, I'm sharing some tips about homemade yogurt. All you need are a couple of tools, a couple of techniques, and a little bit of time. Today's episode of the Boat Galley Podcast is sponsored by MantisMarine.com, maker of the Mantis Anchor, now available in models with and without a roll bar. Proven to set reliably in the most challenging bottoms, the Mantis Anchor digs like no other, making anchoring safer and boating more enjoyable. Mantis Marine brings to market practical, durable, and affordable marine products, including anchoring gear, scuba diving accessories, and a rechargeable waterproof headlamp for hands-free lighting. Visit MantisMarine.com and see for yourself. Homemade yogurt is ridiculously simple. You need 2 ingredients. You need a starter yogurt and you need milk, 2 tools, a wide mouth thermos and a digital thermometer, and you need some time because the yogurt takes between 6 and 7, maybe 12 hours to set. That's it. Simple, simple. So let's go into some of those details. Number 1, the starter yogurt. The starter yogurt you can either buy as packets of culture, or you can use the yogurt that you already have, or yogurt that you have made. If you're buying yogurt at a store with the intention of using it as starter yogurt for your own homemade yogurt, you want to look for 3 things. The first thing you need to make sure is that the yogurt you're buying has active or live cultures in it. And the label will say that pretty prominently. It'll say live or active culture. It might say live or active bacteria, but you have to have that. Those are the bacteria, and you want it to be live because that will enable you to make more yogurt from it. It's ideal if that yogurt is not flavored and that yogurt cannot contain gelatin. The second thing you need is milk. And you can either use the milk if you buy fresh milk at the store, or you can use powdered milk. The one thing that you cannot use is UHT milk, the ultra high pasteurized, the stuff that is shelf stable that you buy in cartons that sometimes you'll see as Parmalat or UHT or long life milk. That will not successfully make homemade yogurt. One note on powdered milk. In the States, it seems that often all you can ever find is non-fat powdered milk. That isn't delicious. It does not make great tasting yogurt. Outside of the States, it's far easier to find powdered milk that is full fat. And actually, in some places, I've noticed more and more in grocery stores and specialty stores, you can find the Nestle brand of full fat milk, which is Nido, Nido. Worth seeking out if you're going to be making your own yogurt. Not necessarily the Nido, but full fat powdered milk, because it does make a big difference. So that's it. Side note, I've not tried making homemade yogurt with anything other than regular cow dairy milk. So I don't know if you can do it with soy or plant-based or goat milk. The other thing that you need once you have those 2 main ingredients, you need tools. And the 2 tools that you need to have a thermos. And I strongly suggest a wide mouth thermos because they're so much easier to clean. And the second thing you need is a thermometer. I recommend a digital thermometer because they're easier to read and more precise. But because the yogurt is a little bit finicky in terms of temperature choice, you want to make sure that your temperatures are correct. So that's it. 2 ingredients, 2 tools. So what's the procedure? I'll start by saying I learned this and have tweaked it a little bit from Carolyn Sherlock's excellent, very detailed step-by-step guide to making your own homemade yogurt on her website, the Boat Galley website, and I've got a link to that in the show notes. Yes, this is the Boat Galley Podcast, and also the Boat Galley is a great website. So check it out if you want more details and more specific. So what's the technique? Preheat your thermos by pouring some boiling water into it, letting it sit for about 5 minutes, and then pouring the water out into a bowl, because you're going to use that same water to mix your milk and to mix in your starter yogurt. Carolyn in her blog post is more specific and measures out the water, so she's only using exactly the right amount of energy and water that she's going to use. I am perhaps a little bit less specific on that one. I much prefer to mix my yogurt in a bowl before I pour it back into the thermos, rather than using the thermos itself as the container in which to mix things, because I like to make sure it's totally all mixed up. It does mean that I have a bowl to wash. So that's a choice that I'm making. So I pour the water into the bowl. I mix in my milk, and I usually use my thermos as a 3-cup thermos. And my milk says to use a quarter of a cup of milk powder for every cup of water. So I wind up using actually a full cup of milk powder for my 3 cups of water. I like it to be a little bit thicker, a little bit creamier. Here's where the thermometer comes in. I then check that temperature and wait until the water has cooled down to between 110 and 120 degrees Fahrenheit. And then I mix in 3 tablespoons of my yogurt starter. And yes, I just use some leftover yogurt from my current batch of yogurt. So I do have to be aware. And if I'm coming to the end of my yogurt, I want to make sure I have enough to make the next batch. I mix that in, pour it back into the thermos, cap the thermos, wedge it in somewhere strong and firm, and let it go for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 hours. And then when it's done, I pour it back into a container that goes into the fridge. That's it. Super, super simple to make yogurt. There are no real tricks to it, other than making sure the thermometer gives you the right temperature. And that's it. So how do you make extra thick yogurt? And what do you do with this yogurt? Well, the extra thick yogurt, if you like Greek yogurt, all you have to do is to drain the whey out. So all you need to do is to line a colander or a sieve of some sort with cheesecloth, or I've got a couple of flour sack towels. I've got a flour sack towel that I use that I can then wash again, which is nice because cheesecloth, if you wash it, it'll just disintegrate. The threads come out, at least the stuff that I've ever seen. So just line a sieve with cheesecloth, a towel, paper towels if you want. I usually put a bowl underneath to catch the drips, and I use that whey in bread making. And let it drain. Let it drain for an hour, 2, 3, 4. You can let it drain overnight if you want. The longer you drain it, the thicker the yogurt gets. And actually, if you drain it overnight, you'll get something that's a little bit more like a soft cream cheese. That's a yogurt cheese. Beautifully spreadable, really easy, would make a very, very fun kind of an appetizer for sundowners. What do you use yogurt for? Well, we use it with our granola in the morning. We'll use it as a substitute for sour cream. We'll use it in baking, eating it straight, all kinds of things you use yogurt for. When I'm taking a long life ingredient like powdered milk and turning it into a product that we use all the time, like yogurt, that to me is the essence of having a self-sufficient galley. And it's one of the things that I find super enjoyable about cruising, is that I get to be self-sufficient in these ways that just feel very, very satisfactory. I can't wait to share an anchorage with you when you share your favorite self-sufficient galley tips, and we're watching a beautiful sunset somewhere wonderful. Thank you so much for listening to the Boat Galley podcast. We love hearing from our listeners. We love it when you share us with your friends, and we love it when you don't forget to subscribe. Have the most spectacular week.